The courtroom was a chamber of hushed anticipation, its air thick with the weight of judgment. At the defense table sat Maya Thompson, a black woman in her late 30s, her posture erect, her demeanor composed. Her hands rested gently in her lap, and her gaze was fixed steadily ahead. She exuded a calm that was neither passive nor defiant, it was resolute. Across from her, Officer James Whitman, a white man in his mid-40s, sat with an air of confidence that bordered on arrogance. His uniform was immaculate, his jaw set, and a slight smirk played at the corners of his mouth. He didn't glance at the jury. His eyes were fixed forward, as if the outcome were already assured. The judge entered, prompting the room to rise. The shuffle of chairs and the scrape of shoes echoed through the chamber. As everyone settled, the trial commenced. The prosecutor began by calling Officer Whitman to the stand. He recounted the events of that night: a federal building, a woman pacing alone, appearing agitated. He emphasized her refusal to identify herself, her defensive tone, and his growing concern for safety. Repeatedly, he stated, "I feared for my safety." Each time with increasing gravity, Maya remained motionless, her expression unreadable. The jury, however, seemed captivated by Whitman's testimony, their pens moving in unison as they took notes. The prosecutor then turned his attention to Maya. "Ms. Thompson, are you affiliated with any activist organizations?" She did not respond. Her court-appointed attorney, Daniel Brooks, objected, citing relevance. The judge overruled. "Do you often record law enforcement encounters? Do you train others to do so?" Again, no response. Maya's silence was palpable, a shield against the insinuations being cast her way. A murmur rose from the gallery. "She's got an attitude," someone whispered. The narrative was shifting, not through evidence, but through perception. Daniel leaned toward Maya, whispering urgently. She remained still, her eyes fixed ahead. She understood the dynamics at play. This wasn't solely about guilt or innocence, it was about control, about challenging the stereotypes imposed upon her. During a recess, Daniel reviewed Maya's file. It was sparse: a standard background check, a birth certificate, no criminal record, and a single line under employment classified. Curious, he delved deeper, uncovering a reference to Operation Silent Echo. Further investigation revealed it was a top-secret mission requiring the highest level of clearance. Maya was no ordinary defendant, she was a former intelligence operative. Suddenly Daniel's phone buzzed. An anonymous message read, "She's not who you think. Ask about Operation Silent Echo." Attached was a video clip, grainy but clear. It showed Maya standing calmly, hands visible, as Officer Whitman approached aggressively, shouting, "Don't play smart with me," before shoving her against a wall. She didn't retaliate, she absorbed the assault in silence. Automate show. Daniel stood abruptly, addressing the judge. "Your Honor, the defense has received new video evidence from an eyewitness. We request permission to present it." The prosecutor objected, citing procedural issues, but the judge allowed it. The courtroom watched in silence as the video played. Gasps echoed as the footage contradicted Officer Whitman's testimony. The jury's demeanor shifted. Skepticism replaced certainty. Officer Whitman was recalled to the stand. Daniel questioned him pointedly. "You claimed Ms. Thompson was aggressive, yet the video shows her standing still. How do you reconcile this?" Whitman faltered, his composure cracking. From the gallery, a voice murmured, "We've seen this before, haven't we?" The statement hung in the air, a poignant reminder of systemic issues. Then a man in uniform approached the bench. "Your Honor, may I speak?" He introduced himself as Colonel Marcus Reyes, retired Director of Strategic Threat Response. He presented a sealed folder to the judge, who reviewed its contents before nodding. Colonel Reyes addressed the courtroom. Maya Thompson led Operation Silent Echo, a mission that prevented multiple international crises. She's a hero, not a criminal. He displayed a photo of Maya in full military regalia, standing beside high-ranking officials, medals adorning her chest. The courtroom was silent, the weight of revelation settling over everyone. Maya's silence had not been an admission of guilt, but a testament to her strength and integrity. The courtroom held its breath, as if afraid that even the sound of breathing might tarnish the moment of clarity that had just washed over everyone. Maya Thompson had not said a word since the trial began, and yet now, in the presence of truth that could no longer be denied, The silence she had wielded like a sword became the courtroom's guiding light. The judge, visibly moved but maintaining composure, cleared his throat. "Ms. Thompson, if you wish to address the court, you may do so now." Maya stood. Her motions were fluid, graceful. She didn't rush. She didn't grandstand. She simply walked to the center of the room. No notes. No theatrics. Just a woman who had held her truth longer than any of them could imagine. She looked around not to accuse, not to demand, but to allow everyone to finally see her. "I didn't speak because I've spent most of my life in places where the loudest voices weren't always the wisest," Maya began. Her voice was calm, low, but every syllable seemed to carry the weight of 1,000 silenced truths. "I've operated in war zones. I've advised leaders who could decide the fate of nations. And yet, I came back to my own country only to find that standing still, while black, is somehow a provocation." There was no bitterness in her voice. Only clarity. "I didn't raise my voice, not because I couldn't, but because I wanted you to look past the uniform, past the clearance level, past the medals. I wanted to know if I mattered when you thought I was no one. If dignity applied even when you assumed I hadn't earned it." Every juror leaned forward, transfixed. I was labeled a threat for not reacting, pushed against a wall for not resisting. But I've learned that sometimes the strongest walls we break are the ones inside others, inside ourselves. And those never fall from shouting. They fall when the truth stands still. She didn't ask for sympathy. She didn't cry. She simply nodded once, as if that was all the confirmation she needed. Then she returned to her seat. Daniel sat there, stunned, grateful, deeply humbled. He whispered, "You didn't need to say anything this whole time, but you did. Just when it mattered most." Maya offered a faint smile. "Timing is everything." The jury returned after deliberation. Their faces told a new story, now one shaped not just by evidence, but by realization. The foreperson stood. "On the charge of assaulting an officer, we find the defendant not guilty. On the charge of resisting arrest, not guilty." The courtroom didn't erupt. There was no dramatic applause. Only the soft sound of people exhaling for the first time in what felt like days. An elderly juror, perhaps the quietest of them all, stood unprompted. His voice cracked with age but carried conviction. "We failed her before. We won't fail her again." The judge swallowed hard. "Ms. Thompson, this court owes you more than a verdict. It owes you respect and an apology." Maya didn't gloat. She didn't even fully smile. She simply nodded, an acknowledgement that she had carried something no court could ever weigh, and finally laid it down without anger or vengeance. Whitman, the officer who'd lied so easily, couldn't meet her gaze. He looked at the floor, face pale, mask shattered. He was no longer the picture of authority, only a man unraveling in the presence of truth. As the gavel struck and the case was closed, the courtroom doors opened to a different world. Reporters swarmed. Cameras flashed. Microphones stretched toward her. "Ms. Thompson, are you going to sue? Do you think justice was finally served? Are you going to speak publicly about this?" She didn't answer. She simply walked past the noise. At the bottom of the courthouse steps, Daniel caught up with her. "What happens now?" She looked over her shoulder. "They can keep asking who I was. I just hope they remember what I stood for." And with that, she walked on it toward vengeance, but toward peace. Across the street, a young girl held her mother's hand and asked, "Mama, is she a hero?" Her mother didn't hesitate. "No, she's something even stronger." The girl didn't take her eyes off Maya's retreating figure. And in that quiet moment, no badge, no title, no headline, Maya Thompson became exactly what she had always been. Unshaken, undeniable, and finally seen.